the Fredericksburg Center for the Creative Arts, FCCA, April 2021 Artist Choice Regional All Media Juried Exhibition. I'm Carol Morgan, the curator of the Frederick Gallery. We appreciate your viewing this video and your support of our gallery with your membership and patronage. We've replaced our First Friday in-person receptions with videos, which we'll be posting on First Fridays for all to view on our social media, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. During April, the Members Gallery is featuring a solo show by artist Bob Worthy titled The Lasting Allure of Paint. Be sure to visit his exhibition. This Artist Choice exhibition provides artists with an opportunity to submit work that does not have a specific theme. This challenges the juror to select a limited number of works from a large number of submissions and to form a cohesive exhibition that is placed in our 3 gallery rooms. The extensive background and experience of our juror has well prepared him for this challenge. Gregson studied at the New York Studio and Forum of Stage Design and worked as an assistant at the Metropolitan Opera and as stage artist at theaters throughout New York City. In 1995, Gregson began creating and exhibiting his abstract paintings throughout the United States and internationally. His paintings are represented in U.S. corporate collections and in permanent collections at the American Embassy in Guinea, Africa, and at Longwood University. Currently, Mr. Gregson is spending his time between his studios in Fredericksburg and the Northern Neck and is traveling extensively as the pandemic has permitted him. We welcome back as a juror, Chris Gregson.
Hi everyone, I'm Chris Gregson. I'm honored to be jurying this show in beautiful March in downtown Fredericksburg at the Silversmith House, which is a fantastic facility that has a lot of historical presence in the community. It's a clapboard home of a man who was once a blacksmith, and it's a real gem. It's made of stone and millwork and clapboards, and the space itself is just fantastic. I wanted to talk a little bit about the process for jurying, because I know artists are always curious how the juror goes about selecting works. Well, I'm going to tell you my process. Basically, I'm fortunate enough because I live in the community, so I can actually see all the work. So I come down to the gallery after it's hung, and I walk through the gallery, and I look at all the work, and I walk around numerous times, and then I settle on particular works that I want to re-examine, and then I go through that process until I select the 7 pieces that I think are worthy of awards. And what I'm looking at is not only the technique, but I'm looking at the subject matter, and I'm looking at something that's innovative. And while I'm going through this process, I'm thinking, which of these pieces is transformative? Which of these pieces draws me in? So I'm just not scanning the surface of the image. And I go through that process, and then I select the 7 pieces. And then after that, I begin to determine which pieces will be the first, second, and third place, and which will be selected for honorable mentions. Before I start talking about the honorable mentions, I just want to make a note that there were over 90 entries. Some of the artists had multiple entries, and I selected 43. Those artists that did have multiple entries, I selected those works that I thought were most significant. So the awards actually went to 2 oil paintings, 3 mixed media, 1 watercolor, and 1 photograph. So I'm going to first talk about one of the first honorable mention pieces that I selected. There were 4, and as I went around the gallery, I stopped at this one particular piece, which is a mixed media piece. And I was really caught by the title. There's often discussions about the significance of titles, but this title actually caught my eye, and it was more like a caption than a title. And the title is "The Brain is Wider Than the Sky" by Teresa Blatt. And it made me think, isn't that a profound statement? The brain is wider than the sky. That is so true. Isn't mind much more expansive than matter? And I thought that it was just a wonderful idea, and it just made me think of so many different associations regarding mind over matter, all sorts of transformative ideas of how science is so expansive, how reincarnation is so expansive. It's this, how moon travel is so expansive. So this one little painting just provoked all sorts of ideas and images in my mind. And I love the way it was painted. It almost looks like somewhat like a stage set. But it also is a collage, and you have to look at it very closely to see how these thin pieces of paper were cut and then applied to the surface. Also, I thought it had this cartoony aspect to it, and that's why the caption, or the title, as I call it, caught my eye. It was sort of reminding me of something you would see in the New Yorker. So this is where I settled. I settled on this piece as one of the 4 honorable mentions. The John Paul Jones House by Danette Taylor is yet another of the honorable mentions. It's a local scene. It's very well done. I believe the artist is self-taught, according to the bio. But it has a lot of details and a lot of character, and it really focuses on a very nostalgic feeling. It's a structure not unlike the Silversmith house in which we're in. It has many of the same characteristics, and actually it's from the same era. But what makes this particular image stand out is the use of color and the details that are associated with this business as it was in history. Some of that sort of warm, nostalgic feeling comes from the green paint and the way it's painted on the side of the building and the way it's faded. The American flag, it gives us a sense of nostalgia, and the barrels and the awning all present a very nostalgic atmosphere for the creation of this piece. This is another honorable mention. It's called Sunrise Over Hampton Roads by Elizabeth Shumate. And this is a wonderful piece because it's totally abstract. And instead of looking at an image or a figure for reference, we're looking at a total abstraction, a field of color. When you think of the sunrise, you think of a horizontal horizon line, but there isn't any horizon line. It's just a series of color with more of a lit center. But the joy and the celebration here is the work with the materials. The artist doesn't use some representation to come up with an image. The artist uses the materials to come up with the feeling to refer to the sunset. So I really enjoyed looking at this particular piece and the way it was assembled. I can look at it both for its referential imagery, and I also can look at it just for the sheer joy of looking at the materials used. This is the last of the honorable mentions. And this is Mr. and Mrs. Blue by Chris McClintock. And Chris has presented us with an image of birds in flight, but it captures two things. It captures a moment in time, but it also captures the action of the birds in flight. It's an interesting composition in and of itself, and I liked it because you can see the motion and you can really look into that and actually feel the birds in flight. But you can also appreciate this image just for its use of color and form. The colors sort of wash over the scene, and that washiness in and of itself is something you can appreciate. So that is the reason I selected this piece. There were a number of photographs that were submitted, and though each of them were very, very distinguished, this particular one is a picture that was transformative for me and made me look further into the painting, not just scanning it, but looking into it and seeing many, many things. And this is the reason I presented this piece with an honorable mention. All right, now I'm going to talk about first, second, and third place winners. This piece is awarded the third place, and it's a piece by Laurie, Hoen, whose title is I'd Rather Be Fishing. It caught my eye because it had many layers of different imagery trying to tell a story. I read the artist's statement, which talked about her layering of ideas and concepts to provoke a response in the viewer. In this particular image, she's dealing with environmental stewardship, where she has the bird pecking into a plastic bag, which is not recyclable, but the plastic bag has a smiley face, which is ironic because it's really not a happy experience at all. So there's that aspect of this image, and then there's these chicks that are wrapped in wire. I just thought it was well done. It really provoked a lot of ideas through mixed messages, and I awarded it third place. Our second place winner is by Kit Paulsen, and it's called Lining Up for the Demolition Derby. This is just an exquisite watercolor, and where some of the other pieces you've seen just rely on form and color and concepts, this is just a direct illustration of an event, but it's just done in such a masterful way. The handling of the watercolor is just absolutely beautiful, and you can just see all sorts of things in this picture. You can just look at it quickly and just get a sense of a summer day just through the coloring, the reds and the blues and the pale yellows and the greens. But if you look closely, there's all sorts of events going on. You can see the main driver here leaning in to talk to his assistant, and with just dabs of color, you can see expressions on their faces. You can see the gentleman in the second tier just waiting patiently with his arm over the chair, and then a group of people way off in the distance out of their cars waiting for the beginning of the derby. There's a man just leaning over one of the cars waiting. And the way it's painted is, it is just draws you through this field of depth. You can see that your eye looks at this red, and then it goes back to this bluish black, and it all leads you into the painting, which is just a wonderful experience. But if you look, there's so much detail in this painting. The name of the driver or the sponsor is Ken. The second vehicle has something Jesus on there. It's just a wonderful painting. And then even after looking at all those different details, I finally focused on the Bart Simpson ornament on the top there, which is just somewhat hysterical and must sort of say something about the character of the driver. So I just found myself looking at this painting, just to read it and see how he went through representing so many different scenarios in this story. So it was a real pleasure to see this picture. First place winner is Pulse Orlando by Michael Broadway. And this piece is not representational. It's not surreal, where you have a collection of images and forms that are specific. It's very, very abstract, and it forces the viewer to look at the painting and come up with concepts of their own, or just to look at the painting and appreciate the mystery of the painting. What do the birds mean? They're hummingbirds, and they're all in flight. Their hummingbird is a symbol of happiness, just like the eagle is a symbol of strength. There's all these different hummingbirds. Are they in a turbulent tunnels of wind, or is this some sort of tree? It's not clear. It's all ambiguous. There's no specific message going on here. And I think that artists that go this far in their work and look inside of themselves, which is a sort of an internal exploration of what they're feeling, is very profound. And Michael, in his artist statement, says that his work is about personal experience. So this is some synthesis of experiences the man has had, and he's put it onto canvas for all to see. But the message and clarity of the image is mystery. So I just found this one very engaging.
Thank you to Chris Gregson for doing a wonderful job as our juror, for selecting an excellent exhibition, and the long-time commitment of coming back to view the exhibit and select the award winners. So we thank him. Please take time to come in person and visit our galleries. We're open Thursday and Friday from noon to 4, Saturday 11 a.m. to 4, and Sundays 1 to 4. If you're not able to visit us in person, visit our website, fccagallery.org. Thank you for viewing our video, and I believe Chris has the last word for you.
I just want to encourage everyone to come see the exhibit. There's just a wonderful collection of different pieces, different styles, everything from photography to textile art to mixed media pieces. It's all here, and the scenes depict the local community as well as travel and art historical references. It's just a wonderful combination of different works. And I also encourage everyone to not just scan the images, but look into the images. And there's also a binder here which gives includes the artist statements, which I encourage you to read to get more insight into what the artist is doing. So please come. The exhibit will be up until, when is it?
The end of the month.
The end of the month. So
All of April.
all of April. So please come by and see the exhibit. Thank you.
The Fredericksburg Center for the Creative Arts, where art and history meet.